Good morning, everyone. Hi, Michelle. Today we have our seventh question, right? Seventh episode.
Yes, yes.
And what we're going to do today is a little bit different. We're going to do an interview style Q&A.
Yeah.
So I will be interviewing our expert, Natasha, and we'll go from there. So over to you
Cool.
first, Natasha. How are you doing?
Cool. I'm looking forward to this because we were thinking of spicing things up, doing a little bit different. We tried the coaching last time, didn't we? And that
Yeah.
was very much appreciated. So this time we thought, how about let one person be the audience's voice and
Yes.
ask those curious questions. So let's give that a go and see. So let's crack on. Let's get into it.
All right. So our question for today, welcome Natasha again. So we are looking forward to hearing your thoughts around this question.
Mhm.
Are there ways to address jealousy or insecurity in a healthy and productive manner? So that's a big question. It's a very broad, but I'd like to
Yeah.
start us off with, I guess it's really important to know what your definition of jealousy or insecurity. How do you view
Mm.
this in context of relationship?
Yeah, it's important because these words can very much be mistaken and seen as one thing, right? Again, jealousy is something where it's a fear of losing someone or something within your relationship that you already have. So something that is yours, but there's a fear that you're going to lose it to someone else.
Mm.
Or it could even be something else, lose it to an activity as well. And insecurity, on the other hand, is lack of trust and support in relationship. So they are two different things,
Mm.
but always mistaken. Now, insecurity can give, can give birth to jealousy. The jealousy can come from that insecurity.
Love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important for the audience to define their own jealousy and insecurities as well. And I love when you said insecurity can give birth to that jealousy because you don't often we don't know who we are and we look outside of ourselves and we get threatened by what we don't have that we wish we have, right? So how so in again in because this is a relationship Q&A, what do you think triggers jealousy within the relationship?
Mm. Jealousy can stem from, so when we don't have a lot of awareness, it's good to know what you're feeling. So the feeling, when there's jealousy, the feeling could be anger, it could be sadness or fear, right? And most of the time people just think that, oh, I'm jealous, I'm feeling jealous. But the feeling is actually there's anger or sadness or fear. And that fear could be that loss. What are you fearing of losing? That can be jealousy.
Sometimes when we're in a relationship, right? So sometimes I look at coming into a relationship where sometimes we go into it independently, right? We chose to be
Mm,
in that relationship. And then over the years, you kind of get blended, right?
mm,
So you kind of blur who you are and who the other person is, and then you get into like that oneness. Um, and the interdependence kind of dissolve,
Mm.
unaware, of course, because we in a relationship we often go into a path where a we rather
Mm-hmm.
than, I have this term that I love using called muy, which is me and we.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah,
it's also a me in the we, that we can't forget.
yeah. Mm.
So I'm curious if you have some uh, insights or your personal experience where you kind of gotten threatened, because your definition of jealousy is somewhat like a sort of a triad, right? So you have your
Yeah, yeah,
partner,
yeah.
you have yourself, and then there's a threat, right?
Yes.
There's a threat there that's kind of like getting the relationship into like a how do you call this? What's the word? Like not in a confident
Yeah.
uh, position or situation. So I'm curious to know if you have insights whether how what happens in an individual where you know that you're in a relationship and then you get triggered by that threat. What kind
Mm.
of situation you might think of that could initiate that kind of jealousy in a relationship?
Yeah. I think it's best, let's put it as more in context
Mm-hmm.
with, let me share my personal example, right? So recently I didn't realize it was jealousy, right? But I was getting upset because my other half was spending too much time in his work, his business, and less time with us, right? So again, in relationship, you have patience, and you think that, okay, he's busy, but bit by bit, that it starts building up
Mm-hmm.
because you feel that something that, as I said, something that I had. So I had his time, I had his attention, but now I'm feeling that he's not giving me so much attention. He's not giving me so much time. We don't really see it because jealousy, we often think jealousy as in when the partner is maybe going out with friends or something with another person. But it could even be another thing, another activity, something that that person does, another activity he does, and it starts to build up. So again, I could see that jealousy playing up where something that I had was going away from me. So I was building that up within me, right? And almost, you said muy, but the relationship, relationship should be about we. How can we, right? So we then almost start to see it as you and me. What about me? When are you gonna give it to me? Right? So does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to know that jealousy doesn't. I love when you said it doesn't have to be another person that you're jealous. It's also about the time and your love language that are not being met, right?
Mm,
And that it could be something that your partner is focusing on way too much, and I don't have another word, but neglecting
yeah.
your relationship and supporting you in the journey of your healthy relationship. And that brings me to the next question, which is what advice would you give our viewers or listener? Um, how can a person who's feeling those kinds of jealousy or
Mm,
insecurities could come forward and create a space where they could be vulnerable? What would be the first step for them so that they could express those emotions
mm,
in a healthier, productive, respectful way?
yeah. Thank you for asking that question, because as you said, the word vulnerable,
Mm,
that's the key in a relationship. And not many people want to be vulnerable. But if you can't be vulnerable in a relationship, you won't be able to express yourself fully. There won't be a deeper understanding, right? There will be a disconnect. And mostly all your conversation will end up in argument, because that person doesn't understand where you're coming from, and you cannot understand where that person's coming from. So being able to be vulnerable. Now, in order to be vulnerable, you need to understand yourself first.
mm,
You need to know what are your needs. What has that triggered in you? So as I said, if jealousy is coming from, if you're feeling angry or sad, or you're fearful of losing something, ask yourself, take time, because it's making you angry. If you just go into it, or you just go and speak to your partner, it's going to end up in disaster, right? So take time to ask yourself, what am I feeling? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Am I fearing anything? What am I fearing? What is that fear of loss? What am I going to lose here? Once you get that answer, then you can go next step. Okay, where is this coming from? Why am I so scared to lose this? What did I have that now I'm scared that I'm going to lose? Where, where is that feeling coming from? How much truth is in this, right? Because the narrative in the mind would be, oh, you don't love me anymore. You don't want to spend time with me. There's a disconnect. We don't talk as much now. That thing is more important to you than I am. What is your priority? So I am not on that list anymore. Am I not your priority? All those narratives. But to quiet those narratives and just say, okay, what am I fearing? Is there any truth in this scenario? Am I really losing him? Does he really not love me and he's doing that to hurt me?
mm,
Is he spending more time at work because he wants to hurt me? Is that true? That's not true. So let's get down to the truth.
mm.
And once you can find out within yourself, what is that? What is it that's bothering me? What is my need? That's when you can go into that conversation more powerful, because you won't be blaming the other person. Well, you don't do this to me and you don't love me anymore. Well, I don't know what to say. You do this every time. All these language, every time, always.
Mm.
But this time it will be more around, I'm feeling something. And I think I know why I'm feeling like this. So I want to share with you. Now you're opening up and you're willing to be vulnerable and show this person what you are feeling inside.
That's beautiful. That's really important to really hone into the, when you're sharing the introspection and reflection, self-reflection, and a lot of that. What would you say though? How could one, sometimes when you're in the thick of it, self-reflection is the last thing you go and do, right? Because you're so
Tell me about
immersed.
it.
You're so immersed in that heavy emotion, of
Yeah.
anger, resentment. And what would you say before you go into the self-reflection? What would you say the step before that? What would help the client, not a client, but what would help the person shift into getting to the self-reflection? Because I think a lot of a lot of people tend to get lost in our heavy emotion and we tailspin, right?
Mm.
What's some strategies or tools that you could give this person that she could do, or he or can do, um, before they go into the self-reflection?
Yeah. Yeah, if let's see this person. So when they are feeling all these things, right? It could be that they are feeling while the person is there. So they're almost having an argument now because this person is feeling whatever they're feeling. Or that person's not there, but because they are feeling a certain way, they're feeling jealous. It could look something around like they are maybe checking their social media, their partner's social media account, or they're checking their partner's phone because they want such like they want something tangible, and they want to almost pacify their feeling, right? So now they're trying to find an answer to it and doing all these things, calling them, where are you, why didn't you pick up my phone, right? So all these things are happening. So if you do find yourself feeling angry or sad, and you're doing all these things where you want an answer right now, pick up the phone, messages, text. Why haven't you replied to my text message? I was worried, right? So we're using these terms. I was so worried. To the other person, we are showing that, okay, I was worried about you. Maybe to ourselves, we're lying to ourselves sometimes. I was doing this because I was worried about you.
Mm.
Why didn't you answer my text? Pick up the call. If you do find yourself, doing all these things, this is the cue that I'm feeling a certain way. I'm feeling jealous, right? But jealousy is not a bad thing. So if you find yourself doing something like that, and you think that, oh my God, I'm jealous. I'm a jealous person. Don't beat yourself about it, right? It's a normal feeling. All human beings feel jealousy, right? So
I love that.
have compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
That's okay to feel.
I I really appreciate you saying that jealousy is not something that we have to be fearful of. And what I get from what you said is that jealousy is an information that we can take in and treat as an information of what's happening within ourselves,
Mm.
and and that if we pause, right, if we pause for a moment and realize that we're starting to get obsessive, we're starting to question the integrity of our partner, we're starting to lose our sight on what's important, and then we go into that tunnel vision of
Yeah.
obsessing about what our partner is doing and pointing fingers about what is missing, what is lack,
Mm.
um, and start to become more aware. And that's what I'm getting from what you just shared, which is quite amazing, to give this gift to ourselves, is to be compassionate towards yourself and slow down, right? Slow down and be vulnerable in opening up to your partner and say, hey, I'm feeling a little bit insecure around this. A lot of people don't really want to accept that they're feeling insecure, but I think that
Mm.
when we are honest about how we feel, however you want to express that, um, that we are in this relationship together, and so I need to be honest with you. So you're making that contract within yourself and your partner that when you feel certain questions or feeling a bit insecure around what's happening in the moment or the need that is not being met, that you can be courageous enough to come forward and say, hey, this is how I feel. What can we do about
Mm.
it? Right? Instead
Yeah.
of putting yourself in the corner and obsessing about it and questioning it because you don't trust yourself enough that you will be held in a safe space. And often that's what jealousy can do for us, can do to us, because it removes you, it isolates you from being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, thank you for that. And I think that that's really a good step first to become aware of your body, what's happening inside your body, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
realize that the cues. So look for the cues. Uh, when you mention when you feel that way, you have to now take a moment to reflect and be
Yes.
vulnerable. I love that. Um, so how can, for the receiving end, right? I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are also on the other end of the spectrum, where is the one
True.
being blamed, being pointed, that they're doing something wrong. What would you give advice to these people who are receiving the jealousy? Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, how could they support themselves and their partner so that they can create this dialogue in a healthier way?
Yeah. It's both ways, right? Because if one person is jealous, the other person is receiving all of that.
Yeah.
So again, if your partner is feeling a certain way and they have shared it with you, allow them.
Mm.
Allow them to share. Don't um, blame or shame them, right? Don't make them feel, because they're already feeling a certain way. And they're probably even feeling guilty now, because say if they have been feeling jealous and they have been acting out in ways where they're maybe checking your phone, or sending you text messages or checking up on you, then they're probably feeling guilty about it. Why did I do this? Right? If they are now gathering the courage to come and speak to you, allow them. If they're full of emotions, they're crying, and they are saying, maybe they're blaming you for certain things, right? Just in your mind, think, right now, he or she needs to let it out. Let me hold this space. Let them let it out. Don't get defensive straight away, because our mind would be like, oh my, but I didn't do that. Like, how could you say that about me, right? How could you even think about me like that? So
Yeah.
it's okay. Just don't think that it's you, but just think that, okay, I'm letting her let everything out. I will get my chance to speak as well. That's when you can then say, look, it wasn't this way. This is what it was. But don't get defensive and go, just shut up. I don't want to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, the defensiveness is that's a hardest, I think, the hardest step to not do for a lot of people. And recognizing, right? Recognizing that you are feeling defensive in the moment and just let it all out. Like, okay, I'm feeling defensive
Yeah.
now. Um, because I don't, that's not my intention, or whatever the focus of the dialogue or the conversation is
Mm.
about. Um, and what I hear when you were sharing that, it really is about extending empathy, right, towards your
Mm.
partner, and say, okay, she or he is having trouble right now and not trusting me. So how could I now be present, for this conversation,
Yeah.
and also be honest about when you're not ready to have that conversation. Like, we even in the beginning we talk about your fight style, and if you're
Yes.
feeling defensive, what would you tell, what would one should do when they're feeling defensive? Should they pause? Should they reschedule the conversation? What would you, yeah, right, what would your
That's
thoughts
an
around that?
amazing question. I love that question, because most often you will feel defensive if someone's just coming at you or even saying things, but it's just hurt your feeling as well. So again, reschedule it. Be honest with yourself. So again, build some boundaries around your relationship. If you don't like someone, if it triggers you that someone is maybe coming to you, not having a conversation, but screaming and shouting at you, and you can't take that, build boundaries. It's okay for you to come and say how you're feeling, but it's not okay for you to scream and shout or use abusive language, right? So have those boundaries. What is okay and what's not okay. But in the moment, if you are feeling defensive and you have, be aware of that, right? Awareness, again, awareness is the key. If you're aware that, oh, I'm getting defensive here, let them know. Right now is not the time. I might say things that might hurt you even more. So I'm ending this conversation here. We will revisit.
No.
Let's book another time when you have calmed down and when I have calmed down as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh my God. It's 10 o'clock. I cannot believe the time
Oh,
just passed. I could ask you more
really?
questions. Yeah. We can go for hours talking about this because this is such a I think one of the reasons why sometimes um, communication uh, becomes a little bit more challenging for a lot of couples. So to end this interview, what would be one powerful advice that you would give the couple to uh, be there for each other during this challenging time?
Yeah, my advice would be that there's always a deeper need within oneself. And the way each one is acting out is because their need hasn't been met, right? So have self-compassion and have compassion for each other. If self-reflection and understanding your emotions and understanding your feelings doesn't naturally happen, or it's hard and it's bringing up more emotions, bringing up things from the past that you're not able to process, seek professional help. Talk to each other and let each other know, I'm trying to figure this out, but I just can't. I cannot understand, why do I feel so insecure? Why do I feel so jealous? I've tried. I think I'm going to get help from a therapist who could help me make some sense of where this is coming from, because I don't want to hurt you anymore. Right?
Beautiful.
So, yeah, it can start this way by having that compassion for the self and compassion that it's okay to be jealous. Remember that jealousy is not bad, and have that compassion and see what help each other you can offer to help each other to take that next step forward.
Oh, thank you so much. This is your wisdom around this topic is really appreciated. I think to recap, uh, the realize, know that, be aware of what's happening in the moment with your body and with the situation and with your partner, and create those empathy, compassion towards yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and have the courage to step forward, to be honest about how you're feeling, so that you could address the situation before it gets worse, right? And if that is not if the conversation is not getting to a place where you want it to be, seek professional help. I love that, because then you could make sense of things, you could express yourself and how you're feeling, and support each other in the process with respectfully and honestly and lovingly, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
thank you so much. And again,
Oh,
thank you
thank
for
you.
everyone who came. Wow, this is probably the largest ever that we've had.
Yes,
People
thank you
come.
everyone who joined. Thanks, Raja. Metaways, Rhodes. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
we have so many people joined us today. Achal, Vimal, oh, Vaishnavi. Meg. Thank you, everyone. But again, guys, do share your insights because again, we love listening to what you have to share, your thoughts, insights on jealousy, insecurities. How have you dealt with it? Right? Share it with us, share with everyone, share your wisdom. And yeah, send us your questions as well. Again, if you have any questions, send it over to us.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Natasha, for your wisdom. And we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Diana. Bye.